This is Ed McIntosh. We're broadcasting live today, and such an eventful weather day. We thought it would be a good thing to get together, talk about what the conditions are, hear from you, find out what you're seeing out your window, and if you've been out on the roads, what conditions are like, so we can share that with everybody here on Facebook Live here this morning. Also streaming on our website, ktvq.com. If you have a smart TV, you can also catch us there. So we're going to try to keep you up to date on what's happening, and to help us do that, Miller Robson is in the Q2 Weather Center this morning. Hey, Miller, first off, let's just talk about what everybody's got on their mind. Exactly how much snow have we seen out of the system so far?
Well, we had some records fall here in Billings yesterday. Our snowfall just over 5 inches, 5.2 inches at the airport. That beats the record way on back in 1973 of 2.9. So there was a lot of snow yesterday, and we still have a lot of snow to go. Remember, this event is anticipated to go all the way through maybe Sunday night in spots, tapering off. And then we could still see some spots for some flurries as we get in on Monday. Remember, for the most part, our viewing area is under a winter storm warning until tomorrow evening, which indicates that we still anticipate a good bit of snow to come. I will tell you this, Ed, my first time driving in a lot of snow this morning. I was downtown Billings. The folks are out working, trying to clear the roads, but it's something to see. And I will tell you this, if you don't have to get out and about today, it might be a good idea to stay home and just kind of enjoy it from the indoors. It's absolutely gorgeous out there. It really is a winter wonderland, but it's one of those things you might be best to enjoy from afar, inside than instead of outside on the roads. It might be a good idea.
That's right. Yeah, we take a look at the Montana Department of Transportation Travel, and most of the problems that we're having are from Billings towards the west. But the eastern plains are going to start to see more of this as we get into the next round of this snow-making weather. Colder air will continue to move in. We're going to have that warm Pacific air run over the top of it, and that's going to start to create more snow, especially for the eastern plains as we start looking tonight into tomorrow. Miller, let's take a look at, first off, look with the interstate, or with the Stockman Bank weather cam. You can see some of the snow that's around from that here today, and just some of the conditions out there. And visibility is another one of our big concerns, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, especially if you've got some blowing snow out there. A little bit of that this morning. Fortunately, the winds aren't that bad as it stands right now, but winds could possibly pick up, especially as you get into higher terrains and whatnot. So visibility will be an issue. Definitely poor visibility. The icing of the roads out there, when this stuff, if it melts in spots, we're going to see some slick. Even if it doesn't melt, we're going to see some slick spots out there too. And it's one of those things where sometimes you don't even know when you're pulling up to it if it's there. So you got to you got to use caution. Something I learned this morning too, Ed, is as long as you're going nice and slow and you don't have to stop, it's an easy ride. But if you have to stop, like at a stoplight or a stop sign, you could get stuck. So again, it's one of those things. If you don't have to be on the road, would be a good idea not to do that. So
of course, again, we saw a lot of those conditions from yesterday too, because we started off with the ground being so warm. A lot of that initially melted and refroze, and of course that caused a lot of the problems across the region. Got a message from Jessica saying Eureka is cold, but most of the snow from yesterday melted away. And we are going to see some of that. That remelting problem is going to be a concern. Let's take a look at our Max computer analysis here, and let's just take it through time, Miller, and take a look at how this snow kind of redevelops here on the high-resolution forecast.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and start it around 8 a.m. You can see it's pushing in from the west. What's happening is, folks may not understand why this is happening. Well, we had a cold front that came through earlier this week, and it became kind of stationary across the area. And what it's doing, it's turned into what's called a backdoor cold front. Usually they tend to move from west to east. This one is coming in kind of like from the northeast over to the west. It's moving back to western Montana. And what this is doing is it's interacting with a really steady flow of moisture coming in from the northwest. In fact, we're actually getting some moisture all the way from Hawaii, if you can believe that. That's pumping into the area and will continue to do so. And then that cold Arctic air coming in from the north out of Canada. It's all interacting, and that's why we're seeing the snow out there. Now, we may see some lulls out there as we go along today, but anticipating maybe another big Arctic blast coming in later on tonight, and that could kick up the snow machine again. But let's go ahead and take this with our high-res future cast or forecast here. We'll start at 8 a.m. Just some light snow here in Billings and areas south. Off to our west, Helena, Great Falls. You can see Cut Bank as we go along up to about 9 o'clock. It really starts to pick back up. We'll start to see it starting to pick back up here in Yellowstone County and the Billings as well. Let's go up to 12 o'clock today. Now you can start to see a lot more coverage of the snow kicking back in as we get up to lunchtime. A good portion of the western part of the state is going to be covered. We'll go down into the northeast corner, at least of Wyoming as well, northwest corner rather, I'm sorry. Let's push this all the way until 3 o'clock, and you can see it migrating further east into Montana, pushing over toward Forsyth, Miles City. We'll go up to drive time, and a lot of folks maybe happen to work today, getting off work around 5 o'clock during the drive at 5. You can see good coverage of the entire state down there in northern Wyoming as well. Sheridan, even down into Gillette, Graybull. Worland, not so much. Cody, you're seeing some of that snow pushing as well. And then we'll take this all the way out until about 8 o'clock tonight. You can see we'll possibly see some breaks around Red Lodge and Columbus. And then still a good coverage of this snow falling across most of Montana and into northern Wyoming as well. Your thoughts, Ed? Now, we had the record snowfall yesterday here in Billings of over 5 inches. Just looking at the maps, do you think we've seen the main thrust of it yesterday, or do you still think we could see maybe some more records fall today, maybe into Sunday? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the biggest band of snow seems to be in this area from north of Billings, maybe around the Roundup area, up around Winnett, down through Yellowstone County, extending down towards Sheridan, Wyoming. Now, here's a look at Doppler radar, and I want to point out, too, that while you see all the snow around the Billings area, keep in mind that most of this snow is that powdery stuff with low clouds, so the radar beams are shooting over a lot of where the snow is once we get away from around the Billings area. So we're actually seeing snow a little more widespread than what you're seeing there on Doppler radar. But we could see another pretty heavy band of snow on that line from around north of Billings down into the Bighorn Mountains. We're going to be watching that. As my friend Matt Elwell pointed out, we're talking about the Pineapple Express. You mentioned all that Pacific moisture coming in. So we got the cold from the north, and we got the moisture stream coming in from the Pacific. So it's the you got your chocolate and my peanut butter, and my peanut butter and your chocolate. Cold close to the surface, the moisture runs over the top, and there you go. John Potter from around Red Lodge area says he's a foot at his place in Red Lodge, 1.5 feet drifts. We're getting snow reports from a lot of the ski resorts already over 20 inches around Big Sky. Red Lodge says over 20 inches, 7 inches in the last 24 hours. Keep in mind, too, some other things as we get into the early part of the week. First off, alternate bus routes for the kids if they're going to be heading back to school. And also, one other thing, the great program that's out there, too. If you're a little getting on in years, maybe you have some physical conditions that stop you from getting out and being able to handle the snow, there is a Snow Buddies program in the Billings area. And you can give them a call, run through the city, 237-6146. If you want to volunteer to go help out somebody, or if you want to get some help to get the snow cleared out, 237-6146, and that's a great way to be able to help out your neighbors or get some help if you want to make sure you just keep things clear. Because, I mean, part of it is, too, making sure things are clear for your neighbors so they can get through on the neighborhood as well. Let's talk a little about what's going on as we start getting into next week, Miller, because we're going to shift our attention from snow to some really cold conditions.
That's right. Well, we were talking before we came on. I was looking at some of the model data, and there's a chance when we get into Sunday night, we're going to get below zero, and we may not get above negative temperatures into Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. So that's going to be the big concern moving forward once this snow event pushes out. It's going to get very, very cold out there. In fact, up there in northeast Montana, they're looking at wind chills maybe upwards of 40 below zero. Now, I've never been in that type of temperature before. Ed, tell me, when it gets cold to a certain point, it just feels cold, right?
It's just cold. At that point, it is. I was checking out some of the records, and it looks like with maybe Thursday morning, we could be close to a record temperature in Billings, but we'll probably be flirting with our record cold afternoon highs. The maximum temperatures will be the coldest that we've seen for some of the dates. So we're really getting into some cold weather, even by our standards. Hey, getting some more reports here too. We're getting a couple of inches reported. Alkali Creek, 4 degrees, and at 2, and to see 6 inches of light snow falling. Another thing that we need to be concerned about as we get into the early part of the week, we're talking about the cold temperatures, Miller, but also bitter cold wind chills, especially in the eastern plains, where we're not talking as much snow, but we're certainly talking about that's where that wintry blast, that Arctic system coming down, is really going to affect areas of eastern Montana into North Dakota. This morning, at one point, I saw a wind chill value in Williston, North Dakota of -44.
Ooh, my goodness. Yeah, that's I mean, you talk about dangerous temperatures. That's insane. Incredible. Now we've been very mild up until this point with this big blast here. Just looking at the models over the next several days. Now we anticipate this will hold on until probably at least the middle part of the end of this week. I've had questions of whether or not this is going to stay for a little while longer, or we possibly may see a bit of a warming trend. Now, I've seen some models seem to think that we may warm up a little bit as we get into the weekend. But could we possibly anticipate another big cold event or a big snow event once this passes, as we get into maybe the next 8 to 14 days? Looked at some of the models, and I mean, it looks like to me we're going to try to warm back up a little bit anyway.
Yeah, once the turnaround comes, it looks like we could start to pull back out again. So really, the scenario looks like snow first, then the cold, and then we'll start to gradually pull back out of it again. But we want to make sure people keep in mind with those bitter cold temperatures too. Watch things like frozen pipes. Watch things like the pets being out in the yard for an extended period of time, and if they have drinking water that's available. Because those little things that we've been taking for granted this year, suddenly we're going to have a much different situation during the weeks to come.
I want to share this too. Mark, who's one of our great engineers here, sent me a message, and he asked me if I could pass this along too. Livestock growers start calving and lambing around the 1st of February, and we've been enjoying those warmer temps. Now we've got these colder temps coming back. So newborn calves and lambs they're really tough, remarkably tough. But once they're dried off. But of course, it's so cold out there, it becomes a problem until they're dried off or inside a shelter. So that might be something I'm sure farmers are looking at, probably bringing in their livestock and at least the newborns from this cold. My oldest daughter actually asked me that question yesterday. It's like, Dad, when we drive around out in the country, we see all this livestock, and there are just tons of them out there. How are they about getting those back into a shelter? And I'm like, well, I'm sure they know what they're doing. They bring the ones in that they have to bring in out of the cold, especially the newborns that are still, wet. And they take some time to dry off. So I thought that was a very interesting fact there from Mark for sending that in. But been very mild out there. But now here's this big blast of winter, and it could wreak havoc on calves and lambs and livestock out there.
A couple of comments from we've got our Q2 News page up today, and then also believe that we're also on our Q2 weather page. So thanks for listening there and putting your comments. And of course, you can also download our free app. So as this storm continues to develop, not only will we be posting on Facebook, but also just to have the app, because then we can give you a heads up if something comes along, and you'll get an instant alert on your smartphone, and you'll know what's happening right away. So you can just download that. Go to ktvq.com/weather. There's a download link. You can use it for your smartphone, whether you're using Android, or there's also an iOS version of it as well if you're using an iPhone. So you can download that, keep it handy. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on. We keep regular video updates on there as well, just what the forecast is. So it's a great tool to be able to use that. And of course, if you're using your smart TV to get our broadcast now, we'll also have information updated that way as well. Got a couple of messages. Holly says, got about 10 inches of snow just south of Columbus on Shane Ridge. Karen brings up a good point. Hopefully this affects those nasty pine beetles we've been plagued with. So, yeah, a lot of the reports, especially closer into the mountain foothills. But again, we're going to emphasize that the eastern plains, you're going to get your blast of at least some snow. There's a look right now with the Stockman Bank weather cameras. You can see the visibility down again with some of that light snow falling. And that's kind of what we're looking at now through the day, is the periods of light snow. And then, Miller, as we start getting into tonight and tomorrow, the potential for that next round of some snow to start to come together that way too.
Yeah, we do anticipate another blast of that cold Arctic air coming in tonight. So you're right about that, Ed. We'll show you some of the snowfall estimates, and we'll push this all the way through tomorrow night. Now, again, we've seen record amounts of snowfall here at the airport of just over 5 inches yesterday. That beat the record of 2.9 inches back in 1973. But I want to point out, if you'll take a line, an invisible line, I don't know if we can show this or not, from Kalispell all the way down to Sheridan. You just take a line right there, and anything along that line, and we'll include Cut Bank and Great Falls and Lewistown on that as well. You go along that line, and anything west of that, a better chance you're going to see that accumulation. As you go into northeastern, eastern Montana, you can see we're anticipating just some light accumulation moving forward for Glasgow, Jordan, Glendive, and Miles City. And like Ed said, your big concern now, as we get into the latter part of the weekend and into the first part of next week, is the cold air with those wind chill factors. Some of you possibly upwards of, we've already seen what there in Wilson of minus 44 degrees on your wind chill. So that's going to be a big concern in the northeast corner of the state. But just giving you, now these are estimates. Now these are not written in stone, but some of the estimates here, 4.6 inches in Kalispell. We can go 6 to 10 in Missoula. Here in Billings, another 4.6, and this is through Sunday night at 11 o'clock. Livingston, 6 to 10. Bozeman, 6 to 10. Butte, 4 to 6. We'll go 1 to 2 along the high line of around Havre. Cut Bank, about 6 to 10. Now, looking at some of the models, thinking we may actually get, it says 4 to 6 here in Billings. Some of the models trying to push us maybe another 6 inches by the time we get to Sunday night. So again, these numbers are not set in stone. It's just giving you an estimate of what we think could happen with the different variables that we have out there. Remember, we still have a lot of moisture streaming in from the northwest that we're tapping into. So moisture is not really going to be an issue, especially for central and western parts of Montana and northern Wyoming. And then, of course, we got that cold Arctic air coming in from the north. That's just, you mix it all together with that front that's pushing through the backdoor cold front. It's giving us that opportunity of seeing more of these snow totals. Any reports? I can't see it from here. Ed, anybody giving us any reports of some traffic situations? You saw yesterday here in Billings where a fire truck flipped over on its side.
Yes, getting a lot of reports of poor visibility. The central portion of the state, the route between Billings and Great Falls is really one of those don't go there kind of situations from a lot of the reports that people have been sharing. They've been taking even short trips around the Geyser, Stanford area. Things are pretty nasty there. So pretty much anywhere Billings to the west is a lot worse. The Eastern Plains are not getting as much, and Montana Department of Transportation is showing drier conditions there. We're just dealing with a lot of bitter cold wind chills. So make sure you have that winter survival kit ready to go, so you've got that all covered. And make sure if you do have to go somewhere where you haven't had snowfall, make sure you let them know what your plan is. Make sure you got a good charge on the cell phone. There's still those areas of eastern Montana where coverage is not what we would wish it to be. There's a great shot there just showing some of that traffic trying to get through around the Billings area today over towards Metro Park. So cold and snow, and again, we'll just pass along a few things for you. We'll start to wind things down here. Remember, if you need help with that snow removal, Snow Buddies 237-6146. And then also remember, that's like if you want to volunteer or if you want to be able to go help somebody who isn't able to move snow, that's a great thing to be able to do. Also, don't forget about downloading our free app so you can keep track of what's going on, because you don't have to watch for the live feed. You can just get those updates as they come through. It's easy to download, keep track of what's going on. If you have some pictures or information to share, you can just email us at weather@ktvq.com. We'll get your pictures. We'll be able to share them out on social media, on the newscasts, and be able to relay a lot of the information, because it's really your reports from around the area that help out so much. We can watch the radar and we can look at the computer analysis of how much we expect, but actually your reports of how much has actually hit the ground, what the conditions are like in your area, exactly what you're seeing on your home thermometer. They could really be a lot of help for your neighbors. So weather@ktvq.com, share pictures, share information, and we'll push it along and share it with everybody else as well. We seem to always get one of these wintry blasts, and this might be the one for the season. Who knows, there could be another one that's coming along, but we're going to be in the middle of this one all the way through the week. So stay safe. Remember, don't leave the kids out at the bus stop. be aware of the alternate bus routes, be aware of the pets, be aware of the young livestock, and we'll just make it through this week together, right?
Okay. I just want to show you again the Doppler radar, what we're looking at. We got some snow around Great Falls, some maybe a little bit of snow there in Helena. Here in Billings again, we may be seeing a little bit more out there than what the radar is actually showing. Let me go ahead and zoom in here just to give you an idea of what we're looking at the airport. So some good coverage right now from Rygate all the way to Hardin, down to Pryor, Laurel as well. Pushing down into northern Wyoming along the Beartooths too. I want to give you, if you just joined us, again, we had a record amount of snow yesterday here in Billings, just over 5 inches, 5.2 to be exact. That beat the record of 2.9 back in 1973. And Precep, it was also a record. If you were to melt all that snow down, about 0.3 inches, about 0.3 of an inch, and that beat the record of just over 0.2 inches back in 1973. So a record day yesterday. We still have a chance to see a good bit of snow here in Billings as we move forward. Again, we're still under that severe winter storm warning for most of the viewing area until 6 o'clock tomorrow night. That means we anticipate some more snow. And then beyond that, as we get into the first part of next week, those really deadly temperatures, where here in Billings alone, Sunday night getting below zero and staying in the negative temperatures maybe all the way until Thursday. So that's the big second whammy with this storm that's coming through. Snow first, and then the extreme cold temperatures on the way. So I know a lot of folks can stay indoors this weekend, but as you get out for school and work next week, use precaution, bundle up, and limit your time outdoors as much as you can. It'd be a good time to stay indoors and enjoy the fireplace and the heater. Ed.
That's for sure. A big thank you to James Rafferty, who helped us put together this broadcast for today. Matt Johnston's there in the studio, I know, with you. A lot of other folks were involved in getting it all together. And a special thanks to everybody who's been sharing their comments, giving us snow totals and some things that we can work off for the rest of the day. And we'll keep you up to date on what's going on, whether you check us out online or on air, and we'll just keep the updates coming for you. And Miller, thank you for coming in on a Saturday morning and helping to let everybody know what's going on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And last thing I want to say to everybody, please stay safe, use caution, and we'll get through this okay. And hey, don't forget, we got the Super Bowl tomorrow too. A good reason to stay indoors and watch TV, Ed.
Which just happens to be on Q2, so we'll plug that one as well. And if we're gonna be cold and snowy, we may as well be setting some records along the line.
I agree.
Okay, we'll wrap it up here on this feed, and if something significant goes along, we'll let you know about another one. But in the meantime, keep us in the know, and we'll let you know what's going on as well. So thanks for joining us today.